Hello and Happy New Year. It's 2025. Can you believe it? I can't believe where 2024 went. It seemed to fly by, but here we are again, another year. Wishing everyone all the best for the new year. My name is Beth MacDonald Stone, and I'm a knitwear designer and avid knitter coming to you from Bermuda. Bermuda is really cold right now. For Bermuda, it's in the 50s. It's really windy. It's blowing through the doors and the windows and all that. So it's definitely time to pull out all the sweaters, and I'm loving it. So it's really good. Hope everyone had a great Christmas or holiday or relaxation or whatever it is you do. Hopefully you had a little time off of the usual and got a little bit more knitting in. I know I sure did, but it was still really busy. We had house guests. It was great. But yeah, it's amazing how, it just changes the regular routine so much, and that's great. But I'm glad to be back at it. I love a routine. I am very habitual. I find routines very satisfying. So yeah, so I'm glad to be back at it. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about just the sort of last few things that I knit in December that I haven't shown you. I did whiz through them all when I did the year in review of what I've knit. So some won't be that, new or shocking, but I'll talk maybe a little bit more in depth, maybe not, whatever. We'll just see how it goes if there's much to say. Things I'm working on and just a quick idea of plans for the new year. So let's get going. So pattern highlight. I'm so excited about this. This was this is called the Sprinkled Snowflake Shawl. And this is something I've been working on with the ladies at Sprinkled Fibers. So Lindsay and Marcy, lovely. Lindsay is the dyer and she's amazing with color. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I've always loved watching them. So we decided to sort of collaborate. I would put a design together for an Advent shawl and Lindsay would the yarn. So this is what I've come up with. And I did this last spring. I knit it in a solid, it's over there, in a solid version, which is great. Actually, I'll show you. Here it is here. It's handy to be in this area to record because everything is right around me. Anyway, so this is the solid one. This is what I initially knit just to design. It's a triangle. So the bottom's down there. It's rather big to hold up, but it's called the Sprinkled Snowflake because it's a snowflake motif in the center, which is all just slip stitches with some bobbles at the points. And then you get into more slip stitches for like a snowflake motif and a little bit of lace for the edge. It's simple, it's engaging, super, and designed exactly for 24 skein singles, fingering weight, that you hold double tomorrow. So I'll just show you this one I have here, which is what I knit in December along with everyone else. And I actually used Lindsay's yarn, the Advent kit. So it was really fun to reknit it, and I really wanted my own version using the originally designed yarn. I love it. I think it's really fun. And then with the little scraps I had left, I made 3 tassels, which I really like because I think it's super fun. And I also find the tassels are really helpful when you're putting it on and wearing it, because it kind of, it's a big shawl, and today it's, like I said, it's really chilly, but the tassels really help kind of weigh the corners down. So I was just out and with the tassels, like the shawl never moved. So I really like that. Tassels are totally optional. I totally understand if tassels are your jam, or if they're not, whatever. But yeah, so this pattern was only available to those who had signed up for the Sprinkled Fibers Advent kit. So that was for December, and now it's opened up on Ravelry for the pattern itself for anyone. So if you have, if you like it in the solid or the 2-color effect that's written in the pattern, and also if you like this, all this, use of fading yarns, holding 2 fingering weights together, it's all there for you. So the Sprinkled Snowflake Shawl is available, and it's the pattern highlight for this week, and it's on sale like all my patterns are for the first week. I did it for 2 weeks just because I published it on the 2nd of January, just for those that were excited about it. So it's on sale now with 20% off, no coupon required. So that's great. The other thing to note is those who did get the Sprinkled Snowflake kit, great. I hope you enjoyed it. In the kit, in the pattern was a coupon code for a free, so that you could put the Sprinkled Snowflake pattern in your Ravelry library. So that coupon is there. Please use it so that it's always in your library for future whatever. So that is the pattern highlight. Yeah. Okay. What have I finished? I finished a lot in December. It was busy. I had a sweater that I really wanted to wear for Christmas, which you probably know about, and I was able to finish that off. And then there was also just some smaller projects and then work for print. So very quickly, the holly sweater, I wore this on the year in review. This is a great design. I really loved it. It's not designed by me. It's designed by Pernille Lawson, who is one of the ladies, the mother of the owner, I believe, and who does all the designs for Knitting for Olive. She's very talented. This is a great design. Usually it's knit and fingering weight gauge, so it's a much smaller motif, but again, sort of circles your shoulders, or your upper yoke. I knit it on like a bulky weight gauge, so I went up a lot of needle sizes. I used, I used Holst Garn Cielo, which in the a charcoal gray for the main color here. And I used some leftover. So I had some Drops Air that I used here for the green, and then I held 3 fingering weight, DK weight, toothy yarns like tuku wool, DK, and stuff like that, in different colors of red and pink and that sort of thing, just to make the berries. It's great because I knit at such a bigger gauge. I knit the extra small. All the details of, you know, needles and everything like that, I'm very meticulous in the Ravelry because I think it helps me and everyone else just for future. So all that information is there. It worked out perfectly, and I wore it a lot the Christmas week, actually. A lot. So that's great. Holst Garn Cielo, I think it does pill a bit. Not really worried about it. I'll clean that up, but I literally wore it that whole week, almost every other day or every day. So yeah, it shows a little wear and tear on the underarms. I can clean that up and we'll be good to go for next year. But yeah, I'm thrilled with that, and it was super cozy to wear. This yellow, as you can maybe see, is very soft. So very similar to Drops Air. Yeah, and Wear. I find both of those do pill a bit, but whatever. It is what it is. It's easy. I'm gonna put this back just to clear the decks. That's not a good idea. Anyways, right. So that holly sweater was the first. The Check Yourself Raglan, I finished this one too. I love this design. So you can see I'm actually working on a second version here. This is my first version, and I was super inspired when I saw the yarn at Green Mountain Spinnery at Rhinebeck. And I used with it Hudson Valley Yarns, Hudson Valley Fibers, Moodna color Black Trumpet. But I actually had to dye it because it was quite different when I got more batches. So anyways, it was a charcoal DK weight yarn. But anyways, loved this sweater, really pleased. And this was the other thing I wore a lot around Christmas. I made it very oversized because that's what I've been craving. So the second version I'm knitting right now, I'm making a size smaller, which will just be a little bit oversized. And I'm really excited to have both. But you can see this is a color changing yarn, this Ragg-Time by Green Mountain Spinnery. So all this kind of color fading here, it's what the yarn does. Where this I'm using, I wanted to have another option for you to see that was more of a solid. And so now I'm blending what I've finished and what I'm working on, but let's go with it. I am using for this 2 strands of Holst Garn Super Soft in this color. I think it's Rosebud. Yep, Rosebud. And 1 strand of this, which is the Wandering Flock Beach Party, which is mohair. And just to get the little dabs in here of color, just a little bit, there's like little spots of yellow, blue, purple, just for a little interest, but largely this is sort of one color background. For the not main color, it's actually the contrast color, I believe. The collar, cuffs, and hem will be in Harrisville Daylight's color Chirp. It's lovely. It's really lovely. So that's that. So I've just kind of mixed you guys up. So finished, probably soon to be finished. Anyways, and that will be called, I solicited everyone in the last video what people thought about the name Check Yourself Raglan, and it seemed to be fairly unanimous that was appealing. I got some other good suggestions, so thank you very much. But I think I'm going to stick with the Check Yourself Raglan, and yeah, that's well underway. Once I finish this knitting, I will send the pattern on to the tech editor, then we get tested it, and then it'll be published, but it won't probably be published till later. It'll be in the spring. Yeah. Anyway, so that's coming. I love it. It's really fun, very easy. And the motif is created with slip stitches. So it's really easy and it's so obvious where you are. You really just need the chart just to make sure you're on track with the raglans here. It's really easy, really fun. I find it engaging. I like having a little something. I like talking at you. I like it all. So that's the Check Yourself Raglan, which I finished. And also heel toe do-si-do. I had the lovely yarn kit from Michelle from Woolens Nosh, and I knit the heel toe do-si-do sock, which is a really lovely pattern. Again, really easy. And I did really enjoy this. I enjoyed having just a little something to work on. I didn't use any of the black contrasting color because Michelle had put out a video before the advent started just talking about how this was working and how there was a little bit more yarn color in between the colors. And so with that in mind, I just knit this entirely with the color changing yarns, and it worked out really beautifully. What I really think is interesting, just from a design perspective, is how the colors turned around in the heel. I always think that's really fascinating. So I love these. Can't wait to wear them. I think they're going to be super soft and super warm and cozy. And Michelle's advents or kits are always so much fun. So yeah, I've got both of them here and looking forward to wearing those. I honestly could be wearing them today. I also finished another pair of socks, and this is, as I've talked about before, I love to be inspired by Summer Lee and her Colorwork Cuff Club, but I love everything she does. She is like everyone. I know this is a universal thought. This is nothing original, but she's so good with colors and really cool ideas, and they're cute, but they're not twee. I just love it. So this was the design for December, the trees, and the other side was houses. I wasn't really keen on the houses. I just don't really like more than 2 colors a row. So because of that, I actually used a blue that had some speckles in it. So it's just sort of, instead of knitting in the snow. And then I realized or remembered that I had from the Cozy Knitter from 2022, I had a little bit left of her advent. So I used that for the colors. And I thought that was really fun. And then again, back to the blue for the toe. And because I was using, another colored advent, and I was doing the heel flap and gusset for this pair, I just didn't feel like doing the heel flap and gusset, although it is definitely my preferred. I did an afterthought heel. And I'm still playing around with afterthought heels. I do have a very deep heel, I think is how you would say. I put 6 extra rounds in this. I definitely think I could do 8 next time and maybe even more. It doesn't sort of seem to really hold my heel very well. The other thing that I wanted to try, which might not have been the best idea, but I did on the back of the heel, I did ribbed, 1x1 ribbing up here, and then solid for the foot so that you wouldn't feel it underfoot. But I thought maybe that would also hug my heel better. It does, I think. I haven't really worn these that much, but I think it also made it more fragile. So it might not have been the smartest thing, but again, you only learn by trying, so whatever. With an afterthought heel, if I do wear through on this side, any side, but particularly on this side, which I think is more fragile, I can easily just reknit a new heel and no big deal. But I thought these were really fun. The new January design has come through and I'm definitely keen to cast that on. I'm not sure when I'm gonna cast that on because whatever. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. And then I really wanted to use up a skein of hand spun yarn that a friend, Shannon from Whiskey and Wool, and if you don't know that podcast, I'm sure you do, but if you don't, I love it. It's really interesting. Shannon has a fine arts background. I do too. She has a fine arts background. She's now she teaches all sorts of topics, not necessarily fine arts, but I find her podcast really interesting, especially about when she talks about color pairing and stuff, because you can always learn, and to get interesting color connections. I mean, it's a never-ending study, experiment. Anyways, lovely Shannon this summer gave me the hand spun, beautiful art yarn. So that's the multicolored in the back with, you can see a bit of, there's stellina in there and everything. It's really fun. And I really, really, really wanted to use it for something spectacular. So I knit the Plumped up cowl because it seemed that I had exactly the right amount of yarn in the hand spun. And then I had this sort of one-off random skein from Ching Fiber called Peachy, and it is in, let's see, it's called Big Merino Chunky from Ching Fiber. And I just thought the two paired so well. So this is reversible. So actually you can probably see Shannon's lovely colors this way even better. And actually I prefer that. It's so cool. It's brioche. It's totally reversible. And it just accentuates whatever you want. And that way is even better. Anyways, so I used Plumped Up Cowl by Andrea Mowry. Gosh, I don't know. To do this, and I had exactly enough for the toddler size, and it's actually kind of cool. I don't know if I'd wanted much bigger. It's really, I mean, it's I would wear it and sort of tuck in a jacket or whatever around it. So it's not huge and generous and oversized like this, which I love. It's a bit more, it's a bit neater, tidier, not as overwhelming, and I think that's actually really perfect. This is actually easier for me to travel with for a cowl or a scarf than this is. So anyways, I'm thrilled with that, and I'm so happy to have been able to have used Shannon's lovely hand spun. So thank you, Shannon. Yeah, so that's that. And then the one other thing that I squeezed in the last week between Christmas and New Year's, or after Christmas and just after New Year's, we had a house guest, a really dear friend of ours came over from Halifax, taking advantage of Bermuda Air. Direct flight from Halifax, yay. I'm always plugging Bermuda Air. Anyways, she came over and hung out with us. She used to live in Bermuda, so she had lots of friends here too. So it's a very sort of social weekend. It was fun having a lot of people pop by and seeing a lot of other people that we don't see all the time, just because don't you find when you're in one spot, you don't think to see everyone all the time, but when you have a visitor, it seemed more important, and it was really fun, really fun. Anyways, she brought with her a pair of hand warmers that I knit for her 15 years ago, easily. You know, the fingerless ones, and it turns out she was wearing them every day, and she had made them very threadbare, especially in this sort of area here. And she thought I could just stitch it up and put it back together, but it was so threadbare, and there was really not much left of the actual woven, the knitted fabric here. And to be quite honest, they were all quite sort of, they were due to be replaced. So I took the opportunity, and I think I've got a photo of what the hand warmers looked like, and so I'll of course insert it here. And then so it was fun to have her in the house because she could come down and go through all my yarn and decide what color and what texture and whatnot, decide what pattern. And that was great. And so I knit, and I didn't think I'd finish them before she left, but I was able to. And I knit the Traveling Cable Hand Warmers by Pearl Soho. And again, I'll put a picture here of those. Lovely pattern, really nice. It's a written pattern, and I easily get confused and overwhelmed with written patterns, so I'm very visual and I charted it. It's a free pattern, so I did chart it, and I put the charts and the photos of my Ravelry page for that. So below this video, there'll be description, and in the description, in the first line, it tells you my Ravelry name and where you can find me. So if you go to the Ravelry, you can find my Ravelry page for the hand warmers. Again, free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away, but for those who are visual people, it's really great because I couldn't see the pattern in the words, but by drawing it all out, you could definitely see where the cable crosses were, and it made it so much easier and avoided so many opportunities for mistakes for me. So I was just thrilled with that. So, and I hope that's a help for anyone else. I don't think it would offend anyone. I don't think it would offend Pearl Soho for a free pattern that I've put my versions of the charts in. Now, again, they're my versions of the charts. They worked for me. They're not like, there's not titles and everything, but basically you have to follow the Pearl Soho pattern. And you'll then be able to figure out how the charts work. And the charts are in order on my Ravelry page of what and when you'll use. And so I hope it's a help. But if you have problems with the charts, let me know. But I've finished the project, so whatever. It's not something that I'm trying to do professionally. That chart, it's there for a help for other people. So if you don't like it, we'll use it. But if it's a help, fantastic. Because I just couldn't do it off of the words. When I was young, I always had to, like for math, I had to have a tutor. And the main thing that the tutor taught me was to literally have a piece of paper that would cover and show what line I was at. And so when things are written in words, that's really hard because the words jump around for me a bit. And so a chart, I have the paper or the washi tape or whatever, like were recommended above the line I'm working on, but you can see how it should flow so you can really catch yourself. I'm sure everyone knows about that. It's definitely the way to go. Washi tape or magnetic line or whatever on the row above where you are, because you want to make sure that all your stitches line up as they should. That's how my mind works, my brain works. So hope it helps for you. It's there. So that's kind of all that I finished in December. It was a good knitting month. I worked hard at it. I worked hard also on some patterns that are coming out, which I'll talk about in a second. Oh, one other thing that I did. When I try and put on my sweaters, and if for some reason I don't like something about it, like the sleeves, the cuffs, the hem, I put them in a pile in my office immediately. I don't put it back where my sweaters are stored. I put it down in a pile, and I'm trying to go through that pile systematically, like whether it's one garment a month. Right now I only have one sweater there, so I'm not really feeling like it's a backlog or overwhelm, but it's there and it's to be fixed, because otherwise you won't wear it or you won't enjoy it or whatever. And there's so much work put into each of these pieces. So the garment that I decided to fix this time was, this is the simple, I got a super simple summer sweater by Hoagie Locatelli. It's a great pattern. I'm sure you all recognize it or have knit it or whatever. I knit it years ago and I never wore it because, and you can see here, it was just too short. The sleeves ended right there, which like literally cut me right here. So it felt uncomfortable almost with the elbow moving. Now this yarn is Long Island Yarn and Farm, and it is a really beautiful yarn. It's really special. It's expensive. It was a treat. When knitting, I treated myself to it, and that's great. But it really not annoyed me. It was sad that I didn't like the sweater how I knit it to fit. So I pulled back the sleeves and I still had little like remnants. So I used what I had and I made it longer, probably by about 4 or 5 inches. And now it's perfect. It's really great. And I'll wear it a lot. And the special yarn will get its shining day, which I'm super thrilled about. One thing that I thought was interesting, when in the past I've unraveled sweaters, I've reknit them immediately. I haven't like skeined or soaked the yarn. I didn't take that yarn off either, so I didn't really want to, go through that process. When I did block it after, you actually can see it's a bit sort of wiggly a bit, and that's interesting. That's the first time that's ever happened. And I know it's a big question as to whether you wash the yarn before reknitting it. So it did lay really beautifully flat. This is a bit wiggly. I think with time and I think with, future washing and stuff like that, it'll calm down. But this is the first time. It usually in the blocking afterwards, you usually can't tell. I thought that was an interesting lesson. Love this sweater, love the yarn, love the drape on it. So I'm really glad and relieved that I've now put it back into the Rhoda. And working with it reminded me how lovely that yarn is. Long Island Yarn and Farm yarn, and that's the worsted. And I'm going back to Vogue knitting in January, and maybe I'll treat myself to another sweaters quantity because it's really special. So if you're going to Vogue, check them out. They're amazing. So I'm glad that got fixed. It's back in rotation. Love it. It's really, really wonderful. So yeah, I guess my big tip there would be, don't keep putting the sweaters that aren't quite perfect away. Make a pile and just go through them. It's super satisfying. Like, it didn't take that long. The first sleeve took the longest because I was trying to fiddle with the yarn I had left and making it look good and lining up as much as possible, or not lining up, but in a cohesive way that was good with the rest of the sweater. And then once I had that set, then the second sleeve, I'm sure it just took like an hour, 2 hours, and it's good. It's back in rotation, and that's fantastic. So yeah, and that I know I'm not the only one. When something's not quite right, you just don't reach for it anymore, but I'll definitely reach for that. So that's all that I've finished. I've done one of the 2 that I'm working on. I've talked about this, which is the Yourself Raglan. I'll show you the other one that I'm working on, which is down here. And a while ago, I showed you from the summer, I did a design called Get Out of the Pool, and it was knit with a DK yarn. Well, now I'm knitting a Get Out of the Pool and a fingering weight. It's really fun. The theory with this is that basically everything's knit flat, and everything knit flat is knit at approximately the same width, so that if you have hand-dyed yarns and they have a tendency to pool, especially when they're like this where there's sort of color throughout, that's cool. It just will pool relatively evenly, assuming that the dyer dyed it in the same fashion throughout. But it'll pool relatively evenly across the whole garment. So it's a short sleeve tee, so it's across the front, the back, and the 2 sleeves. The sleeves are very wide, so it's a very dropped open sleeve, so good for aeration. I get really hot. I find a big sleeve really helps. I wear sports bras, I'm not really that fussed. And so that's the concept for that sweater. The Get Out of the Pool tee in the DK weight, which I have here. I'm sure I do. Yep, right here. This is it here. So it's, I did very oversized with very deep arms, a little I-cord neck, and I love it. I actually wore this a lot, especially during transitional times. I found this kind of it was just a little bit extra, something to wear. And I really liked it. So I'm doing the fingering weight version now. And this is a project that I'm not really rushing to finish. It will be done when it's done. It's a great project to take with me when I go somewhere and it's sort of social, like, going to my in-laws for dinner when we're chatting and hanging out, I like to have a little knitting project that takes no brain space, and that's perfect for it. Or when I'm out and about in line, that's my inline sweater. So yeah, so that's really great. So that'll get done whenever it gets done. And the yarn I'm using was this one that I was holding up before, which is La Bien-Aimée. It's just such a beautiful color. And I think I bought this from Yan Kwan from Forever Yarn Doylestown at Cape Palooza a year or two ago. Anyways, and this is her Twist Nouveau, and it's color Pop Grunge. So it's a really pretty spun yarn. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's pretty much everything that I've finished and what I'm working on right now. I've got so many designs. I've got so many things that I need to cast on that I've sort of roughly charted or done the basic maths for. I just can't knit fast enough. So it's a really nice problem to have. So just to finish up, I thought I would just talk very briefly about thoughts on the new year. I'm not I like a new year. It's not a big thing for me. I don't do resolutions. I don't find a word or anything like that. I think it's a great idea. I just don't do it. But the one thing that I did think about that would be really fun is with the YouTube series is to do, or the YouTube channel is to do a series within that channel on knitwear design and how, the process that I use for knitwear design, and just talking about it right from inception right to completion and publishing onto Ravelry. And I could either see that as an addendum to my bi-weekly usual episodes, or I make it a separate one. So thoughts on that. Again, that would be for how do I design. And I think the focus will mostly be sweaters, maybe a little bit on shawls. I have done a few shawls like this one and a couple others. A couple others, I think it's the right word. But yeah, so the design process, that's what I'd like to talk about. It's a very personal process, but I think I can talk about it in a general form because I find inspiration in so many different ways. And maybe if we just talk about that, and how you go from the inception to the publishing might be helpful and interesting to you too. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's just how I do it. And I hope that would be of interest. So I think I'll start that in the next few weeks. I'm off to Vogue Knitting, like I mentioned before. I've been going every year since like 2016, I think. I love it. It's great. And I think it's a great time to kick off, the first episode for this how I design sweaters process, because the first is inspiration and Vogue is very inspiring. That said, I don't need a big fancy expensive festival to go to for my inspiration. Inspiration is everywhere, but that'll be a fun one to time and use as the launch pad for that topic. So I hope that interests you, and I hope, if you have any questions or any specific points or anything that you'd really like for me to cover for you, please feel free to write them in the comments below. I read everyone. I reply to everyone. I love that. I love the chat in the community. I feel like I'm getting to know some people that I would not have otherwise, and I'm thrilled about that. So yeah. So for 2025, I definitely want to continue the YouTube channel. I think it's fantastic. I love our community, and it's really fun. And it's another creative outlet for me, which I really enjoy. I'm hopefully getting better and better at it, but it really does. It's a creative outlet in its own right, and I'm really liking it. So I hope it works for you. So that's sort of thoughts on the new year. I mean, as for that, other than that, I just hope that it'll be another year of great knitting opportunity, great knitting time, friends, family, the usual. But, I've got so many ideas, and I just can't wait to just keep on working on them and getting them out and bringing them to life. Yeah, so that's 2025 will be 2026 and on, hopefully. All willing. Anyways, that's my plan. So that's pretty much it. I'll leave you with some lovely videos. My friend who was visiting and I went for wonderful walks every day. And I know on New Year's Eve, we went for a beautiful walk along the beach path. So I think that'll be some of the videos that I'll end with. The beach paths are just so stunning. It always surprises me how much the paths and the beaches and everything change, whether it's through the different tides or weather systems that pass through. It's always sort of like a new experience going down there. It's really wonderful, and it's not far from my house. I'll also include some video because after my friend left, the weather picked up, the winds came in, and it's windy and exciting, and cozy, and it's winter time in Bermuda. So I will hopefully include, I think I've taken some pretty good videos or just to show you what it's like on an island in the winter in the middle of the Atlantic. It can be a little rough. It's fun. I love it. And I love walking in it too. So yeah, so that's great. So those will be some of the videos at the end. And if there's anything you have any questions for or want to leave a comment, please leave it below. Love that. I've never said it before, but like and subscribe. I guess we're supposed to say that. I don't know. Whatever. Do what you like. And yeah, I look forward to another year of conversations with you all. So thanks so much. All right. Happy knitting. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks. Bye.